Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an exciting episode of the Transformation Hour. I am your host, Jay Jackson. And I tell you guys, the Transformation Hours is the show designed to help us connect so that individuals, businesses, and communities can develop, transform, and fly. Our main topics that we talk about on the Transformation Hour, as you guys know, those who have been following the show for a while, are leadership, personal development, entrepreneurship, or anything to help you get your mind, body, and soul right. But for today's topic, we're going to talk about finding a niche. And our special guest for today's episode is Miss Adia Rogers, the trendy socialite. You guys will definitely understand why she's the trendy socialite as we get through our conversation and you have a chance to follow her on social media. She is just all things trendy information and media and fashion, events, natural hair, for those of you who will be able to watch this episode over on our YouTube channel. But here's what's special about Miss Adia. She actually helps people discover, develop, and deploy their purpose by positioning that purpose in the marketplace through social media and content development. And I can actually attest to that myself personally. She has actually helped me quite a bit, whether she knows that or not. But she loves to motivate and train people, people who have an interest and a desire to develop their niche and their voice in the natural hair and beauty and fashion and wellness community. And she definitely builds and engages and motivates leaders and encourages them to become thought leaders, not just influencers, but thought leaders in their own industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome to the Transformation Hour, Miss Adia Rogers. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hello, I'm well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for sharing some of your time today. You are a very busy woman, so I'm grateful for you giving some of your time today to help the listeners and the viewers of the Transformation Hour during this particular segment. So if you will, really quick, share with the viewers and the listeners a little bit about Adia, a little bit about your childhood, your journey into becoming the trendy socialite.
Well, it started on a snowy day back on the farm and no. It's like, how far back do you want?
Hey, whatever you have to, captivate the audience. I know you have the skills and the ability to go forward.
Well, I don't know if it was snowy. I was born in December, but I live in North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina. So I doubt that it was snowy. It's probably just cold. But I am based out of Greenville, North Carolina. And I've been here practically my whole life, which is in and of itself a lesson that maybe I hope we can get to at some point, just in terms of blooming where you're planted and doing what you can from where you are. You don't have to be in a metropolitan area in order to make an impact, because my city is just now approaching like 100,000 people. So it is not a metropolitan area by any means. But I'm born and raised in Greenville, North Carolina. Shout out to the Cackalack, the 252. I love my state. Absolutely. I love my state. I am an only child, which, take that however you want. But it has provided me with some lessons and experiences, especially as it relates to community and the importance of community, not just people that you're related to, but also the need to develop community, because without siblings, I have to rely on cousins and friends and extended family and people that I meet like you that become eventually a part of my community. So started there. My journey is actually pretty interesting. I think I would probably classify myself as I've taken a non-traditional path, maybe a little bit of a later bloomer than others. I did really well through school, hit this period of just awkwardness in high school where I really didn't know who I was. And that period went on for a kind of a long time. And so it led to me I kind of got myself together at different points in times. Like I'm good in a crunch. When I need to show up, I show up, right? And so I did well and well enough to get into a really, really prestigious university, and not only at my state, but in the nation, and then flunked out my sophomore year. And so, you know, coming home to that kind of, not necessarily family disappointment, but personal disappointment was very just different, right? And so I literally spent, and that really did something on my psyche. So in terms of transformation and your mind being the catalyst for that, you absolutely, that is, anytime you experience hurt or trauma, I think one of the first things that you have to heal is your mind, because that's where, after your mind is healed, that's where your body, your actions, your everything follows based on what we have up here, right? And so for me, I didn't know that at the time. So I've discovered that. And so I went through probably about 10 years of wondering and wandering, just all over the place, kind of like just dead end jobs, not careers, just stuff to fill my time, pay bills, and that kind of thing. And one thing that I've learned about myself is that I think and I process, and then I wake up and I do. And sometimes that might appear sudden to others, but it's not sudden to me because I've processed it a lot in my own mind. And so literally I woke up one day in December and I said, I'm going back to school. So I spent probably 7 or 8 years just not in school, kind of dibbling and dabbling, but not serious about it at all. So I decided one day I woke up, I'm going back to school and I'm starting in January. So it is like December 20th. So December graduation has already happened. Just everybody's gone at this point. But I'm like, I'm starting school January 3rd because that was the first day of classes. And so I was like, I'm calling in every person I know that works on campus. Whose hands do I need to put this application in? Because I need to be sitting in somebody's classroom come January 3rd. And so I did that, got into school, and you know, I actually graduated on my 30th birthday. So, you know, that was pretty cool. People might think, you know, when they look at me and they see like when I graduated, they think that I'm younger than I am. So I attribute that to these good genes, you know.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Black don't crack. So I attribute it to that. And still 3 weeks after graduation, so people are excited. I'm excited. 3 weeks after graduation, I started a job working at my alma mater, and people are like, girl, you are set for life. You have this good state job. You got it. You got these good health benefits. It is wonderful. So I start the state job. I'm all excited. I'm, you know, starting my career, what I think is going to be a long career in higher education. And maybe about 6 months or a year in, I look up one day and I'm kind of like, is this it? This is going to be my life for the next 30 years. And of course, knowing that there could be opportunities for advancement, but it just wasn't making my heart sing. It wasn't making, like, you know, wasn't really connecting and resonating with me. And then we went through in my state this strong period of like budget crises where, you know, they cut some of our health benefits, they did some other things. And so the things that people said I should, you know, be excited about also went away. So then I'm just kind of left with, all right, now what? And, you know, ECU was a very fulfilling time for me in terms of discovering what my purpose was. It was the laboratory, if you will, that I used to really figure out what is it that Adia is good at, what is it that Adia wants to do, who is it that Adia wants to work with, right? So I went through all of that in the 10 years that I worked at ECU, which is East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. So in 2009, I decided to transition from, well, actually 2008, but in 2009, I big chopped. And if you think corporate America is funny about natural hair, higher education was equally as funny about natural hair in the workplace. And so I went through this period of people like, I mean, you could just see the different expressions pass over their face. For shock, what is that? What are you doing? It's kind of cute, but I don't really know. Are you going to become militant? Are you going to be calling me,
Right. It was
fighting?
really unfamiliar for people in the initial
Right,
stage.
exactly. And so I just went through a lot of that. I lost some opportunities as a result of that also, but I gained self-awareness. And so for me, that has been the most impactful part of this journey. And so, just going through the journey of natural hair transitioning, figuring out what that meant for me, what that looked like on me, putting on this new suit, putting on this new idea, and just going through all of this literally transformation. It really was a transformation. I really got to know Adia for myself. I got to know myself for myself. What did I believe? What are my core values? What are my beliefs? Because I even got different reactions from my family, from the people that up until that point were my guiding lights, were my examples and all of this kind of stuff. And so 2011 went to the World Natural Hair Show, and came back, and I was like, I've got to do something in my community. People were always asking me stuff. And so I started doing events. And then later on in 2011, the Lord was like, yeah, so you're meeting all these people, you're meeting all of these other people that are doing events across the country. Why don't all of you all do events on the same day? And I was like, God, you funny. Appreciate you. But I'm going to keep on moving pushing with what I'm doing. You're funny. And Jay, it got to the point I could not sleep. It was that uncomfortable.
He'll do that to you.
Not sleep. And so in 2000, I finally said, okay, because I need rest, right? I like naps. And so I couldn't even nap. And so, this is a problem. Okay. And so 2012, in January, I said, I'm going to do this. In May 2012, started World International Natural Hair Meetup Day. And did that for 5 years. I took a hiatus this year just because of life, which is a whole nother story. But, for 5 years, had events, live natural hair events in different cities around the world, 4 or 5 different continents, international cities like Paris, Amsterdam, South Korea, Africa, just tons and tons of places around the world doing that. And so people would start asking, how did you come up with this? How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do? How? And I started having this conversation about purpose. I started saying, I really feel like this is my purpose. I feel like empowering people and informing them and helping them discover who they are is my purpose. And they're like, tell me more about this purpose. What do you mean about purpose? And so I started with, because I learned about purpose from what my mother taught me about purpose. And she went through this period where she was teaching and preaching and just sharing a lot about purpose. And so I started there. I started with just sharing what I knew, what I felt, what I understood about purpose, and the things that helped me to get to where I was at that point. So process of time, friends started saying, Adia, you can be doing this full time. You can be doing other things. What are what are your aspirations in terms of entrepreneurship? And up until that point, I didn't really feel like I saw a lot of examples in my immediate sphere of influence of entrepreneurship. Looking back, I do see, where my grandfather, being a farmer who owned his own farm, not sharecropping or anything, I do see that I had some of that instilled in me back then. But at first I was like, I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what this is. And again, God just made me so uncomfortable on my job that I was like, I have at least got to try. I have what I think are marketable skills. I have the ability to go out and get a job, even if it is being a Starbucks barista, because I love Starbucks. I'm good. Okay, if I can have free drinks every day, I will be like, you want an extra shot in that? What can I make for you today, sir or ma'am? So I said, I can always find another job. I don't know that I will always have the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, to work for myself full time, to figure out what that is like. And so that's how I kind of got here now. I ended my job, left higher education May 31st, 2016, and I've been on my own since June 1st, 2016. It has been a wild ride, but I don't regret anything. Even if I were to start working for someone else tomorrow, I absolutely will have loved my time and recommend some form of entrepreneurship, whether it's a side hustle, just an extra gig, some way that you use your own hands and mind, like create something that you can, or, sell something, create some sort of side hustle and entrepreneurship. You discover a whole different side to yourself by doing that, I think. So that's a little bit of my story until now. I know that was
Hey, no. That was perfect. That was awesome. I'll tell you guys, and we've had quite a few conversations, and I actually learned quite a bit about her today myself. And we share a couple of things in common. So here's the thing. In those early years, we both just struggled with understanding who we really are. And what true gifts and talents that we've been blessed with by God. You flunked out of college in your sophomore year. I flunked out of college in my freshman year. So we've got a couple of things in common. So,
we do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and I agree. I think that we are all everyone has some form of entrepreneurship in them. I think job was created, of course, by those in power who saw opportunities to make more money, and then we've just all been conditioned throughout the years to just believe that we're supposed to, go to school, get good grades, get a job with benefits, work until you're 50, 60, 65, Social Security, retired, die. But I agree. We all have some form of skills, gifts, and talents that we can create whether it's a service-based business or product-based business, and push out to the marketplace and add value to people's lives or their businesses to create an additional stream of income for ourselves. So that's my 2 cents on that part. But so now, you have what is it, about a year and a half now, you've been full-blown full-time entrepreneur, which is amazing. You're doing phenomenal things, International Hair Day event, Korea, Paris, you name it. And so I want to ask you, to make that leap and even now sustain your efforts after making that leap, what is the major mindset shift that you had to make to do that, since you talked a lot about, the importance of your mindset?
Yeah. It is several mindset shifts, and it is constant reminding of those shifts, right? Because there is, to me, a very distinct difference in an employee and in a self-employed employer mindset, that if we aren't intentional about our thought life and our thought patterns, we can very quickly get back into an employee mindset. And then when we're not making the money, when things aren't coming in, we're kind of like, oh snap, what's good, what's going on? And so for me, that learning how to think like an employer, the Bible talks about, if a man that doesn't work doesn't eat. One of the things that sometimes we get comfortable with as an employee is if I decide, even if I go to work today, I'm just not going to work, come the 15th or the 1st or Friday, I'm still going to get some form of pay. An entrepreneur,
Right.
if you decide, which, is, it's well within your rights. Absolutely. You can do that, but you have to weigh the cost. You have to weigh the value of that decision. And so that's where you get into multiple streams of income, passive income, all the things that you hear coaches and personalities and people in this space talk about, so that you can have my 2 favorite words as it relates to entrepreneurship is freedom and flexibility. Right. And so part of the reason why I do what I do is to have the freedom and the flexibility to do other things, whether that is volunteer at my church, take care of my parents who both had surgery this year, do all of these other things that I really, really want to do. I need to have ways to make money that allow me the freedom and the flexibility to do that. So I think that that's one of the first shifts that you have to figure out, is to move from thinking like an employee, where if I work or not, if I do my best or not, if I do something or not, I'm still going to get compensated. So you have to think about, every day I need to be doing income generating activities, creating content that could eventually create income, or whatever that looks like for you, whether you're a product or a service-based business. So that was one of the first mindset shifts. The second one that I think is equally as important is the fact that it takes time. And I know in this clickbait, instant world of instant gratifications and instant success, that, you know, when you see I made $12,000 in 12 minutes, right? And you don't sometimes they don't tell you the full scope until maybe you get into their program or something like that, that this was the 12th time that they did it.
Right.
Or that they spent, you know, $5,000 in ads in order to make that $12,000, right? So, you know, you just have to realize that a lot of things take time. And one of the things that bless me most as an entrepreneur are hearing the come up stories, are hearing the struggle bus sagas, right? Like hearing about the fact that, you know, I actually have her book right here, I'm Judging You, from Levy, Awesomely Levy. And she says that I am a 13-year overnight success. And so we think because she has like risen so very quickly in our eyes to the scene, she's been doing this for a very, very long time.
Right.
Miley Steele of Curlbox, you know, her podcast is popping, right? And she says, but I've been podcasting for 3 years. Y'all just now catching on, or y'all just now discovering me. And so I think we have to exercise a little bit of patience, even with ourselves, right? And a little bit of grace and compassion with ourselves when it comes to being an entrepreneur and releasing things, whether it's products or content, and realizing that to get the target and the ideal client in our purview and connected to us, it might take some time. It might take multiple efforts in order to do that. So I think a third mindset shift is really just about priorities and time management and productivity, right? Because it is very easy, and especially when other people see that you work for yourself now, people have a different when it comes to your time when you're an entrepreneur, right? Like, you know, y'all know, if you follow me, you know I love Rain Eve. They'd be like, I didn't want to call you at work. I don't want to bother you at work. Now, oh girl, can you run to the store? Can you come and take me here? Can you pick me up? Can you come to the church and move this table? Whatever. And so I think that as we have to set the standards and the boundaries on what our time looks like. And no, please.
You know, that's amazing. That's amazing. And guys, I want to, I guess, kind of, you know, piggyback and emphasize what she talked about when it comes to shifting your mindset and shifting the quadrants is what, like Robert Kiyosaki talks about, there being 4 quadrants of income or 4 quadrants of wealth. If you're working your 9 to 5, I highly recommend you do have some additional stream of income, because from personal experience, I can tell you that primary source of income can go away immediately without your planning or your desire. And then you'll find yourself just completely dried up if your savings isn't, you know, a large amount of reserved income or reserved savings. And so you do have to make a huge mindset shift. I mean, she said it, we have to constantly make those shifts. Even I have to keep making those shifts, because, you know, you're so accustomed to ticking tasks off of your checklist yourself. And you have to realize that there are other people out there who can get things done a lot faster and a lot easier than you can. And it might cost you, whether it's $10, $25, $50, or even $100 to get that done. It's best to make that investment in that other source, so that you can have that time freedom and that flexibility to either go out and get more business or create more products and services. And speaking of products, she is 100% correct. I have launched multiple products, and guess what? The majority of them were flat out plop duds. Okay, so if your product or your service and you launch it and it just does not take off immediately, that's okay. That's normal. That's to be expected. You have to get back up on your horse and keep rocking it again. Okay, so now let's get into
right, because one thing.
Go ahead.
One
You
thing
got
that I
it.
think is important to say is that what is old to us is new to somebody else. And so we
Absolutely.
think, I've had this. I've been talking about this. I've been doing this. But if a person just followed you on Instagram, just signed up for your email list, they are like, oh my God, where have you been my entire
Right.
life? And so we think that it's old, it's not relevant, it's this or it's that, but it's new to them. So that's another kind of mindset that you have to have, is that there are people that haven't seen this. I've seen it every day for 6 months that since I've created it, but there are people that have never seen this before.
Awesome. Absolutely. All right. So for those who tuned in, I mean, they've heard tremendous nuggets and wisdom drop, as you tell your story, if you talk about, some of the ups and downs and challenges, productivity, mindset shifts and things of that nature. But for those who really tuned in so that they can really understand what a niche is and how to really identify their niche, will you give us your definition of what that is and why is it so important to have one?
Right. I think it is important to have your own niche and for you to have a segment of the population that you cater to. It is literally catering to them. You get to know them. And I think that is one of the things sometimes entrepreneurs maybe struggle with or don't really understand. No, you really get to know them. It is like people say dating your customer. It is very much so. Spending time with them, asking them questions, getting to know what their lives are like, what their pain points are, what things they struggle with, what questions they have, and how you, if it is not you directly in terms of your products and services, but how you can lead them toward different things. This is where, having affiliate marketing helps you. You can still make some coin off of that, because we're always asked, what do you read? What do you do? What do you wear? Where do you go? Those kinds of things, right? And so we can just literally cater to our niche. I think it is a group of people that you serve, whether it's through products or services, or classes or courses or content. It is a group of people that you serve almost exclusively. Um, so yeah, that's what I think a niche is. And I think it is important because it helps a lot of my clients, a lot of my community, um, not struggle, but have challenges with kind of having multiple interests, and how
Mhm.
you either focus that or segment that or blend it together into one comprehensive message. I think that that's one of my strengths in terms of I can help people find the commonalities, find the thread among maybe different things or in different silos. There are times where you're going to have to be in this one silo, but then there are times where you can present it all and people are like, you're my one-stop shop, right? And I don't necessarily think that it's either or. I think it can be both and in certain situations. You have to just know yourself and know your audience well enough to know when you need to be a little bit broader and when you need to be very focused and siloed in your approach and what you offer.
So what are some of the, I guess, practical steps that the listeners and the viewers could actually take to actually help them, better identify who their, target customer is, or who their perfect avatar is?
Mm-hmm. I think a couple of things. The first thing that you should do is to get to know yourself as an entrepreneur in terms of who you want to serve. I think sometimes where entrepreneurs get disgruntled or disenchanted or, you know, feeling fuzzy is because they're trying to be what a person that they really don't want to serve wants them to be.
Okay.
And so they end up offering things that they don't want to offer. And sometimes it takes a couple of those experiences for you to realize, I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to offer this type of content. I don't really want to offer this type of product. And you can't feel bad about saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. And being okay with those people that may have not maliciously, but kind of forced you into offering certain things when they kind of go away.
Yeah. So,
Because your energy is going to
I'm
when
sorry.
you are presented. Okay.
You got it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut
Okay.
you off.
Your energy is going to change when you are presenting and offering and making things that speak to you and who you want to serve. So I think one of the first things you should do is to get to know yourself and figure out who it is that you want to serve. And some of that comes through the subsequent steps of getting to know people that are already connected to you and that are following you for whatever reasons, if it's the motivation, if it is your inspiration, your information, getting to know them in terms of following a few of them. You don't have to follow everybody that follows you. I don't believe in follow for follow necessarily. But, I do check out people that like my posts. I especially check out people that comment. And I scroll, I'll take a second or two and scroll to see what they're about, to see what their life is. Do they have kids? Do they have a dog? Do they have, what is their life about? Because then it just helps me to connect with them. So when I see them online or I see them on Periscope, then I can establish more of that human connection, which increases my trust factor. Surveys, I think, work and help if you have done some relationship building, right? So I send surveys to people that have had services with me, that have attended my classes, that have invested in some way, whether it's free or paid, in terms of me, because I feel like they're going to be a little bit more invested in responding and more likely to respond than just kind of putting this blanket survey out there. So I think if you're, you might get a smaller sample if you do that survey, but I think the responses are going to be a bit more meaningful to you because it's going to be from people that have a better understanding of you and what you offer and what you want to share with people. So I think you get to know yourself, which is a continual process. I think that you get to know your audience, you survey them. Sometimes you might just want to hop online and just get people to ask you questions, though that your answers can be leading them to products. Your answers can end up helping you create content, create products and services, webinars that people need. Because sometimes we're struggling. We're like, well, I've already done that. I've already done a twist out video for natural hair bloggers. And they're like, but then you get on Periscope or Facebook Live and people are like, can you do a twist out video? And you're like, but I've already done that. And they're like, yeah, but can you do another one? And you're just like, well, I didn't know that you needed that. And so spending time with your audience, dating them, getting to know them, asking them questions really does help.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, if you already have an email list or if you have a Facebook group, and speaking of Facebook groups, if you're not already a member of my Facebook group, Increase Impact and Profits with Jay Jackson, go join it and hang out with us a little bit for some accountability and tips to help you increase your impact.
Yeah, you do hold people accountable because I'm like, he be talking about what are you reading? And I'm like, oh, dang it, I haven't read today.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
Let me go read.
But yeah, guys, definitely make sure you survey your email list and your Facebook group or however you're aggregating, your tribe and getting them into one location. Make sure that you're holding those conversations because they'll give you all the information that you need to be able to develop products or even whether it's a webinar or something of that nature so that you can add value to them. And of course, increase the profits in your business. So, okay, so we've went from your journey. We've now talked about International Hair Day. We've talked about your expertise in helping people identify their niche and why it's important to have one. But now I want to talk to you about just why are you so passionate about, helping people identify their niche or identifying their purpose and really getting laser focused on them being able to add value to the world? Why is that something that fuels and motivates and drives you?
Because discovering my purpose and my passion and what made me sing actually was one of the tools that helped me deal with depression.
Okay.
And because I realized part of the reason why I wasn't happy, I was irritable, I was cranky, I was mean, I was just no fun. And when I got sick of myself, I was like, oh, it's time to do something.
Right.
And so I had, it was this, there has got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more than going to work every day, coming home and rinse and repeat every day. There has to be something more. Right. And so that is what prompted me to start that journey for myself. what I realize is that if it's that way for me, chances are it's that way for other people. And a lot of people, when I talk to them, when I just sit down, I meet them at different places, at church or at restaurants, on the floor of a natural hair expo, you know, they come to me with tears in their eyes. And they say, how did you figure this out? How did you discover this? I know there has to be more than what I'm currently doing, but how do you do that? And so it's literally just been a series of conversations that I've had with people that, just help them say, I think that you might want to explore this. You light up when you talk about this. I hear it in the inflection of your voice. And those kinds of conversations, to see people's light bulbs go off in their voice or on their face, that is why I'm so passionate about this. That is why, I remember one day, like for my birthday, I did some calls, and I was on the phone for 11 hours that day. I was exhausted, but I was like exhilarated at the same time, because I saw people getting it. I saw people that were pensive and were questioning when they got off the phone, when they first got on the phone with me, but when they got off, their voice was light. They were excited. They were ready to get off the phone, not because I, made them mad or sad, but because I had given them hope. I had given them things to do, actionable steps. That's my favorite word, actionable steps. I give you actionable steps, not just woo, woo, woo.
Right.
So great. But no, girl, I need for you to Google this. I need for you to set this up. Go ahead and do this. Write this down. Read this. Those kinds of things that give people, because once they kind of see, and once they start having these smaller victories, it
Yeah.
helps continue to push forward. One of the favorite lines in the hymn says, each victory helps you some other to win. When you have those small victories, it helps you want to do more. It helps you want to get up the next day and do something else. It's like, oh, I got one thing done on this list. Let me go ahead and get something else done. And so for me, I think that if we can be intentional about discovering what we're passionate about, it could be a nonprofit, it could be writing, it could be art, it could be so many things that don't necessarily even have to do with entrepreneurship, right? But finding those things, I think, can help us physically. It can help us emotionally, it can help us mentally. And there's so much undiagnosed and untreated mental challenges, mental health challenges out there, that if I can help in some small way, uh, in terms of just giving people something to hope for, and something else to do, and something else to think about as they're dealing with their other lives, that's my reasonable service. And I think part of the reason why God put me here.
Okay, guys, look, before we even dive into that response, I want to make sure you guys caught it, because she kind of slid across it real smooth, the whole singing thing. Yes, she has pipes. She can blow. She can sing.
No, I
Um,
cannot.
yes, she can. Yes, she
No,
can.
I can't.
Yes, she can. But she's 100% spot on when it comes to the benefits of taking care of yourself, how serving others actually allows you to just release some of the stress, some of the depression, some of the frustration. And I think as entrepreneurs, for those of you who are either an entrepreneur, you'll agree with this. But if you are on the fence, wondering whether or not you have an entrepreneurship, I guess, fire inside of you, most of the times, if you didn't catch it, find something that is a pain for you. Find something that, whatever is frustrating you, and then find a solution for that pain. Because as she said, and I can attest to this, whatever pain and frustration that you're having, 10 times out of 10, someone else is also experiencing that same pain and frustration, and they're waiting on you to develop a product or develop a service that can come in and relieve that pain and change their life. Trust me, you have it in you. So if you're frustrated right now with something, it can be Why isn't this particular type of establishment, in my local community? Start doing your research to figure out why it's not there. And just because it's not currently there, that doesn't mean that the community and the market doesn't need it or doesn't want it.
Mhm.
So if there's a pain or something causing you some frustration right now, identify that, find a solution, be the solution to that problem.
Mhm.
And I promise you, you'll help so many other people.
Yeah. That's
Um,
what I say. I say people are waiting on what you have to offer. They are waiting. You have the answer to someone's dilemma and question. And it sometimes it's not always super negative, like, pure for world hunger.
right, right,
It could
right.
be, what is the dopest restaurant in my community? There are people that just have an affinity, that just know how to pick out really dope places to go, really dope places to shop. There are people that know how to plan a vacation. There are people that know how to do, how to make beautiful things. They know how to put all your pictures on the wall where it looks like art. If I put pictures on the wall, it's gonna look like, why she got all them, why she got all that stuff on her wall, right? So there are people that just have those kinds of abilities, and I think that because we need beautiful things in the world. So I don't want people to feel like, well, I like fashion. I like fashion. I like art. I like these things. They don't always, everything is substantive, first of all. So don't feel like your ability to draw, your ability to put together an outfit. There are people that cannot dress themselves. We see them every day. That's the problem.
Right, right.
There are entrepreneurs that, and my thing is like, if you're making money and if you're really wanting to be serious about that, the last thing you want to think about is what you put on. So if fashion is your thing, you can create something, whether it's a product or service, a challenge, whatever, that helps them to release that and be able to focus on their business, or their content or writing or something else like that. So absolutely has an answer to a question, a problem, a dilemma out here.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, man, we're going to get ready to get you up out of here, but I have one final question before we let you up out of here, and that is to you, Miss Adia Rogers. What does it mean to be extraordinary?
um for me, extraordinary is really being authentic. It is knowing thyself, and living in that self and living that truth unapologetically. I think in this world of sameness, in this world of homogeny, that a lot of us are just content with looking like everyone else, being like everyone else, reading what everyone else reads, listening to what everyone else listens to, going where everyone else goes. And, the people that I am always fascinated by and attracted to are the ones that are marching to a different drummer. Why did you do that? Why did you decide to take that route? And for me, being extraordinary is just being authentically who you are. That resonates with me. Even if I don't particularly maybe care for your viewpoint, I real recognize real, game recognize game. I recognize people that are authentic and that they're being who they are. I may not rock with you, but
Right.
I can at least attest that, oh, this is who you are, good or bad or whatever. But I think people need to be authentically who they are. I think that that's what makes us extraordinary. And I think the other thing that makes me extraordinary is the ability to always want to learn and grow. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to be better when I go to bed tonight than I was when I woke up this morning. And when you have those kinds of thoughts and that kind of intentionality, I think that you see opportunities in every opportunity that's presented, even if it's painful. You see an opportunity for growth. You see an opportunity to evolve. You see an opportunity for a product or a service as it relates to, as we were just talking about, our own need for answers and our own need for solutions. So those to me are the things that I think make me and make other individuals extraordinary.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So before we let them get you up out of here, do me a favor, share with the people how they can find you on social media, and the other different outlets that you are just
Sure.
popping on.
Yeah.
Mm.
So absolutely you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Trendy Socialite. I share, my life. As crazy and as it is, I share that. Facebook.com/the Trendy Socialite, and also my website, adiarrogers.com, is where you can join my email list, find out about all the communities that I have going on, find out about my podcast, how to work with me. All of that is there on adiarrogers.com, ADEARROGERS.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, ma'am. I'm super grateful for having you on. It's been a blast. It's always a blast. So yeah, grateful, grateful, grateful for you spending some
Shout
time
out
with
to
us.
you for relaunching the podcast too.
Look,
Yes.
look, while we were in Miami, somebody gave me a deadline, and I guess they didn't realize that when you give Jay deadlines or challenges, he does everything he can to exceed that challenge. So here we are. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, guys, thank you for investing your time with us today. We hope this conversation was as enlightening for you as it was for us. We hope the conversation added value to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And here's the thing, if you're searching for more in-depth information guaranteed to help you change the way you approach life, your career, or your business to improve your results, click the link in the description to access more training resources. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Talk to you later.
Bye.